My name is Corflux. Today we'll be learning about something, whether you like it or not. Today I'm gonna be reading to you a manuscript about science, mythology, Bible truth, and dinosaurs, so stick around. We will also learn about Noah's Ark and some things about evolution that are true and not true, so stick around. You might learn something, so let's learn something together. Alright. Have you ever wondered if dinosaurs evolved before mankind evolved? Why did they not evolve ahead of man the second time around? One would think that they preceded man once they would most likely precede man again. If it was evolutionary process of random choice and chance that caused non-life to become living, when then would be cause of death. The inception of life and the absoluteness of death for all living creatures appear to be diametrically and infinitely opposed to each other. Is global warming causing all the glaciers to melt? Good question. I wonder that too yet. Yep. Get it through your heads. It's called global warming, not climate change. You climate change freaks need to be stopped. Is global warming the reason for glaciers to melt? Is there a way to proving one or the other? Can you prove the ozone layers are disappearing from the north and the south poles? Can you disprove it? Most people do not have the skill or prove either scenario. If we cannot prove it, disprove it. Alright. The person who made this manuscript says, do we believe everything we hear or read? And he says, I do not. Other than man, can any other life form analyze scientific data? My research indicates neither apes nor whales or dogs or cats are capable of analyzing scientific data. If man was not there to witness and observe the evolution of man, how can we be sure that man actually evolved? Good question. How can we be sure that man actually evolved? We are witness to the rapid advancement of science and technology, but we do not see any part of physical anatomy evolving. Is there any proof, or is it just only evidence? What is the proper definition of the difference between proof and evidence? Have you ever taken the time to examine the difference? Have you taken the time to examine the difference? There are several sites of interest in the world that make it evident that men and dinosaurs may have lived on Earth at the same time. Yet our science textbooks tell us otherwise. So yes, we all lived with dinosaurs. It happened. Yes, maybe. At least this is what the manuscript says about dinosaurs. I'm not making this shit up. Dinosaurs and humans lived together on the same planet at the same time. This is what this says. I'm not the one who's making this up. This is what this says. Yet the science textbooks tell us otherwise. I believe most people do not take the time to ponder these and many other questions, simply due to the fact that they cannot come up with reasonable answers. So stop hating dinosaurs. Dinosaurs may have been real, but we're going to stick to what the book says I'm giving here the information through some sources. So let's keep reading. Where are we? I don't remember. Trying to trace back. I believe most people did take the punt. I already read that. All right, let's begin right here. My father quoted as saying, not long before passing, I just do not understand now that I know all the answers. Good quote. Good words of advice and wisdom. I'm pretty sure your dad was more smarter than that, but let's keep reading what it says. Was quoted as saying, okay, I read that. One thing is sure, if you do not have the answers after reading this mystery, you will have find it difficult to forget this content. Interesting. Now so let's see here. So dinosaurs lived with humans all at the same time before becoming extinct and so forth. And we also got talks about evolution and stuff. So yeah, pretty cool stuff, I tell you what. My story, the mystery. To begin with, there are 3 kinds of stories. Alright, keep that in mind. 3 kinds of stories. There's history, mystery, and mythology. History is a coined word derived from 2 words. His story. His and story. Note the uppercase H is in reality its origin from God's story about the facts of the matter. The truth is told by God. The word history is actually a misnomer in that real history is only that information which comes from God. Mystery, however, comes from 2 words. My story. Mystery. My story. When I tell my story, while I have human frailties, you might have some unanswered questions. Or perhaps you might have some doubt that I have told the truth. Hence, a mystery is told. Mythology is made up from 2 words. My theology. This is a story put together on what one believes to be true. Theology is a Greek word when translated to English simply means the scientific study of a deity. There are 2 other definitions that should be given some attention here. The difference between proof and evidence is important. Many times the word proof is used when it really only evidence that has been rendered. Proof is provided when one more of your own personal 5 senses have been used to observe the physical world and where you can repeat the observation. If you have a proof, which is real science, if these observations cannot be repeated, the result is only conjecture or theory. Alright, we gotta skip ahead because some of this, somebody took a picture of this and I'm supposed to steady this a little bit, but some of this got cut off, as you can see. So we're going to begin by reading evidence is when, proven an item of science. So let's begin reading this part. Evidence is when one who has proven an item of science for himself has then shared it with others. Unless it's of us who have received this information has actually observed the action and item using one or more of his or her 5 senses. There is no proof, it is only evidence. Unless you have proven the item in person, you must actually observe it yourself. Otherwise, it is only evidence. Alright, enough going over definition of words. What are we going to be studying and learning on the Corey Fluxter show? Let's figure that out, folks. The mystery begins on northern Vancouver Island, where fossils of tropical leaves have been found, which are 14 feet across. Fossilized asparagus. Asparagus, some vegetables. That's what sauropod dinosaurs like to eat. Plants 12 feet high over also being found in the Winter Harbor area. Interesting. And it's frozen asparagus that's fossilized. Interesting. Actually, I ate asparagus before. It's not that great. The vegetable tastes gross. It's disgusting. But anyways, let's keep reading about this stuff here. So, I wonder, how do dinosaurs grow asparagus? This doesn't make any sense. Maybe a long time ago, asparagus is not a vegetable. I don't know. I hate to say this, but it's not a real vegetable. I'd rather eat beans and meat and some fried chicken and hot dogs and burgers. That's what I like to eat, meat. Anyhow, let's keep reading this. Where were we? Okay, so, I'm looking at this. Hold on a second. Where did I read asparagus? The asparagus was 12 feet high, have also been found in the Winter Harbor area. Near the middle of Vancouver Island, the Puntledge River also has a large fossil bed, which was found about 35 years ago. This site has many fossils. Large fossil bed, which was found about 35 years ago. This site has many fossils. A lot of fossils. Which ones was found to be some 45 feet long when the university staff from Simon Fraser University and the University of Victoria, they studied the beast. They declared it to be a seagoing, not a whale. Not a whale at all. It was a mammal and not a whale. It is displayed at the Courtney Museum, where you can see it for yourself if you wish. In Victoria, there's a beautiful display of a mammoth at the British Columbia Provincial Museum. In my opinion, it is worth a price of admission alone just to see this beast. They scientists find them in Siberia, most of them. The scientists found them in Siberia, a mammoth melting out of the ice. They find them with undigested foliage in their stomachs, and yet to be swallowed tropical foliage in their mouths. About 40 years ago, they found one of these mammoths, an adult male melting out of the ice, complete with erection. Uh-oh! Mammoth boner alert! It's a mammoth boner. That big hairy elephant needs some Viagra to keep going. Anyhow, something must have been happened very fast. It was a flash freeze, not an ice age, a catastrophe such as a modern man has not witnessed, I am told. Like, how the hell does a mammoth become extinct is the question here. They're not dinosaurs. God hates dinosaurs. That's the reason why they became extinct. But the mammoth was hunted. That's all we know. That's the only thing we know on how the mammoths died. In order for this to happen, it would require a tropical environment to turn into a quick freeze in a matter of seconds. I am wanting to visit the site of the largest fossil ever found. It is actually an artifact which is properly defined as something that is fossilized and has many man's hands. It is located. It's located in Turkey. Those Turks. I am Vlad the Impaler. Look out, Turks. I'm coming. I come to destroy the Ottoman Empire. Turkey has a national park dedicated to this item. I have 3 which have been shown on the Learning Channel and the Discovery Channel. Damn, I wish I owned the Discovery Channel. That's pretty cool that you own a TV program. And 60 Minutes. They have, however, discreetly avoided sharing the real hard evidence from the video on television. I will tell you about the evidence later in my story. It is a documentary video on the discovery of Noah's Ark. Yes! Yes! We finally did it! Woohoo! Yes! Yes! We found Noah's Ark! When I first saw this video, I was quite provoked with what I've seen. Is it really possible they have found Noah's Ark? Yes! If this is really true, the whole world needs to know about it. Yes! I very quickly read the book titled, "This is the Search for Noah's Ark." I wanted to see how well the book and the video fit together. Frankly, they fit together quite well. There was one item in the book, however, that troubled me. It was the first time the scene was in 1955 when an aircraft flew over. They saw a wooden bow sticking out of the surface of a glacier. My question was, how do you get a 10,000 to 20,000 year old glacier on top of a boat that is only 4,300 years old? This does not make sense. It simply does not add up. So I quickly reviewed the biblical story of Noah's flood. There it is. There it says, "The fountains of the deep broke open and windows of heaven opened." A deluge of water. From below and above, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. The rain stopped, and the waters of the deep were assuaged. See Genesis 8, verse 1. So turn in your Bibles to 8 Genesis, verse 1. Stop here and consider the following. Our earth is spinning full revolution every 24 hours. This means at the equator, since it is 25,000 miles around, the surface of the earth is traveling at a rate over 1,000 miles per hour. That is fast. Now, if the earth's core is honeycomb full of water, you would expect to find artesian wells, freshwater springs, geysers and springs, small lakes and big lakes and rivers, fed from waters that some from the great aquifers of the deep. In fact, these this is what we find all over the entire surface of the Earth. With the Earth spinning at rate of over 1,000 miles an hour, this would produce a tremendous pressure, especially at the equator, created the centrifugal forces with this amount of pressure. It really would not matter if you were on top of the mountain, a mountain, or down a valley. If there was a crack in the geological strata with the amount of forces that water is going to just pummel out of the ground, this is where the glaciers came from the fountains of the deep, from the great flood. And that's why Noah's Ark was preserved so well until 1955. The Ark was likely covered by glacier the very winter after it was grounded. Wow. We found the Noah's Ark. Yes! It was covered by a glacier the very first winter after it grounded. And now, believe when the flood waters recede enough for the ark found in the resting place in the mountains of Ararat during the first winter after the flood, with waters up the deep leading forth of the ground. The final resting place of the ark was Mount Ararat, and during the first winter of the flood, with waters the deep and buried under a glacier, the glacier remained in place for 1955. 1955 melted enough to expose the ark. Furthermore, it is understood that the U.S. military had pictures of the ark as early as 1949 during exploratory work through Turkish airspace near Armenia in search of Soviet missile sites. They inevitably took pictures of the ark even while it was still under the glacier. They could not expose the findings to the public. However, because the site was located only about 40 miles from the Soviet Union missile sites, to admit they were in the area would have compromised their military secrecy. Hence, this profound information was not released to the public until 1995. Now, the Ark site has been exposed for the whole world to see. The glacier was completely melted from the site. The full outline of the Ark's hole has been exposed. Our alleged scientists through the media have been explained that the world are experiencing a global warming trend. The biggest evidence is that fact. A global warming trend. The biggest evidence of this is the fact that glaciers melting away. We've actually found Noah's Ark. Yes, we found it a long time ago and we totally forgot about it. Global warming is not causing the glaciers to melt. The reverse is true. It is the glacier's action of melting away that causes global warming trend. The reason of the glaciers melting away is the fact that fountains of the deep from the Great Flood and finally starting to dry up, which means the summer runoff has become greater. Since all the water below the Earth's surface, it has left a hollow void below the Earth's surface. Then Earth collapses to fill the void. And what happens? Earthquakes. Lots of them. More earthquakes have been recorded during the last 100 years than all previous history combined. The native Indians from northern British Columbia, the Nishka, the Haisha, and the Tsimshians, they all have the ancient mythology that their creator is a raven spirit. Some 9,000 years ago, this raven spirit told them that was very disturbed with how wicked man become. The natives worshipped a raven. They worshipped a bird, and the bird told them how wicked they have become. He told them he was going to cause a great flood that would destroy all of mankind. He told them a large house. 9,000 years ago, the raven told them to build a large house of a specific dimension. They also needed a long strong rope and an anchor the house as well. If they did not anchor themselves, well, they would not know where they were. The flood waters that went away. That's their story. Their story also claims that before the flood, there were no mountains. Before the flood, there was no mountains. After the flood, there were no mountains. Interesting. The Bible says several times throughout the scripture that in the end times, all the mountains will collapse and fall, fill the valleys, precisely the reverse of what the natives say happened at the time of the flood. All cultures and nations knew about the flood, okay? Noah's Ark actually happened. Everybody knows about the flood, and scientists want to debunk this, but they can't. There always was a flood. Even these raven-worshipping, bird-worshipping Indians, natives, whatever you want to call them, they believe that there was a flood too yet. There always was a flood. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Go outside, take a walk, drink some water. I love you.